As the prophet Hosea says in Mark chapter 2 verse 14, I will allure her, I will lead her into the desert and speak to her heart. Moreover, the desert is a place of beginnings. It is in the desert, outside the religious institutions of Jerusalem and the temple, that the renewal of the world begins. God acts on the periphery, not at the center of power. And of course, there is a connection here with Qumran. The Essenes at Qumran literally interpreted Isaiah's prophecy in Isaiah chapter 40 verse 3. Having withdrawn into the desert to study the Torah, they called themselves the community of the covenant and practiced regular ritual ablutions. And perhaps Mark is arguing with this tradition. John is also in the desert, but his preaching is open to everyone, not just the initiated, as was the custom among the Qumranites or the Essenes. And, of course, here is a baptism of repentance. The formulation of baptism, repentance for the forgiveness of sins, is certainly unique here. It differs from Brazilian baptism. Jews baptized pagans upon converting to Judaism. John baptizes Jews, thereby declaring that belonging to the seed of Abraham no longer guarantees salvation. A Jew must pass through the waters of death and purification equally with a pagan, acknowledging his spiritual impurity. And, of course, here is a difference from the Qumranite ablutions. At Qumran, mikveh ablutions were regular and intended to maintain the ritual purity of the community members. John's baptism was a one-time act of initiation and moral transformation. Why was John's baptism for the forgiveness of sins, if only Christ grants forgiveness? This is what St. John Zadistos says on this matter. John's baptism did not bestow the Spirit or cleanse the conscience in and of itself. It was preparatory. The phrase, forgiveness, indicates its purpose. One could say that John the Baptist tilled the soil of the heart with repentance so that Christ could sow the seed of grace. I quote St. John Zadistos. He was like a doctor who opens a wound through confession but heals it with another. And, of course, there is the sociology of repentance here, that is, the people's reaction. Chapter 1, verse 5. Here it is written that the whole land of Judea and the people of Jerusalem came out to him and were all baptized by him in the Jordan River, confessing their sins. Here we see a hyperbolic mark. The whole land and all the people of Jerusalem. This emphasizes the scale of the spiritual hunger. People are leaving the holy city of Jerusalem, the center of worship, and heading into the wilderness, thereby acknowledging the inadequacy of the temple sacrifices to cleanse their consciences. The verb confession indicates a public or semi-public acknowledgement of sins. This was an act of profound humility. The Jordan River, symbolizing the border of the conquered land, the crossing of Joshua, now becomes the site of the people's reintegration into the covenant with God. The people seem to re-enter the land, passing through the waters to become the new Israel. John wore a garment of camel's hair and a leather belt around his neck, and he ate locusts and wild honey. Chapter 1, verse 6. Every detail of John's appearance is laden with theological meaning and typology. The description of his clothing is a direct quote from 4 Kings 1-8, where King Ahaziah identifies the prophet Elijah by description. The man is all hair